All right, so a few years ago, those of you who are fans of graveyard cars will recall we drove up north to Washington. I took my little buddy Chrome Dome, and we went to Washington State because I had heard of a couple of Chargers that were sitting in a swampland type of field that could be purchased. I knew that when I left here, based on the description, there wasn't much left of the cars, but they could make potentially good parts cars. So we went up there, and subsequently, we bought those cars. I almost like the picture and the setting more than I do the idea of bringing them back and cleaning them up.
Yeah.
So when we got there, it was pretty amazing. These cars looked so cool sitting down there in that, and it wasn't a swamp, just to be clear. It just looked like a swamp. The cars were so covered in moss and had been setting for so long. It just, like I say, I like to use the word natural habitat, because sadly, some of these cars, that is their natural habitat these days. When I'm there looking at those cars, I'm trying to make a decision of, can the car itself be salvaged? If it can, is it worth it? Is it a collector car? Is it a rare enough numbers car? Does it have enough to offer as a complete car? If those two are no, then I look at what kind of parts are on the car that I could possibly save. What parts have the redeeming value that I can't just call Auto Metal Direct or Classic Industries and order, but I need off of that car. So when you see me walking around those cars, I'm not just kind of taking in the ambiance, I'm actually doing a mental inventory of what can be saved. You know, these cars were not easy to navigate around. It was rough old timberland that was overgrown. So every step you take, you don't know if you're stepping on something. If you do step on it, are you gonna get, is it rusty? Are you gonna get, what do they call that, lock face? Or whatever it is, lockjaw? I don't know, something to do with stepping on something bad, right? But looking at the cars and trying to determine what parts are good, these cars are covered in moss. They're covered in dirt, they're covered in debris. So you have to have some experience, number one, in what you're looking at. Number two is just take your time, walk around and slowly inventory everything. A lot of stuff at a glance you just knew was destroyed on them. But again, my job is, before I make an offer on that car, what can be saved? Besides just the idea that I'm dragging a couple cars out of the brush, what can I actually save? So going around the cars, I came to the conclusion there really wasn't much that was salvageable. So you get to the front end of the car, the front bumper, the valance, the grille, the header, the openings, all of those things, garbage, rotted, and if they weren't rotted, they were damaged. Go to the back of the car, same thing. Tail lights, plastic is broken, the chrome is pitted, the opening around the body panel is rotted, the rear bumper is rotted and twisted and damaged, as is the rear valance. So now you got nothing on the front, nothing on the back. You go to the sheet metal, the fenders, nothing on those fenders. Both fenders are caved in. Both fenders are rotted. Both fenders have been ran over with D8 cats for all I know. Same thing on the doors, same thing on the quarter panel, same thing on the roof. No redeeming value on the exterior of the car. Move to the interior of the car.
Everything in the car was garbage. Console, shifter, seats, steering wheel, dash, even the floor was gone.
The interior of the car is interesting. Almost everything was in there. The instrument cluster was missing on the one car. The other car that had no floors in it had nothing in it. But the one I was looking at had the console, the steering column, the seats, all those pieces were in it. The downside is, and this is what I was talking about earlier, they were garbage from being exposed to the elements for however many years. Otherwise, we could have used console pieces. We could have used the shifter for something. But at the end of the day, that interior had a great big goose egg for any value. When I was done looking these cars over, there was very little that could be saved. All the sheet metal was destroyed. All of the interiors were destroyed. Under the hood destroyed. Bolt-on parts, everything destroyed. Except the reason I'm sharing this with you now, which is the roof inner structure on both cars was salvageable. That's why I brought all this back. That's why I'm walking you back down memory lane. We are about to save a car because of those two cars. And when people laugh at me and say, why did you go out and buy junk? Why did you pay good money for junk that has nothing on it? Those two parts are why.
Oh, the bumper literally fell off.
Okay. Now, once those cars got back to town, the first thing we did was we cleaned them. We shared that in an earlier episode. Cleaned all the moss off, got all the junk out of it, threw all the garbage away so we could see what we had. And my hunch, all the way up there in Washington, covered in the swamp, was absolutely right. Very, very little could be used. A few infrastructure pieces besides what I'm looking at, but for the most part, that roof infrastructure, the quarter to wheelhouse and the rear header area that nobody makes, AMD doesn't make it, it was good. So that car was marked as a potential donor to be able to bring another car back to life. About a year ago, I had a gentleman out of Texas reach out to me. He had a 68 Charger RT, it's a real RT car. He had started doing a lot of the body work on it himself. He can do some work at home, right? But like you see at Graveyard Cars, things can grow. It can start out by, I'm just gonna put a trunk floor in it. Next thing you know, you're putting half the car on it. That was what happened to him. He was unable to do all of the work, the massive amount of metal work on the car that needed to be done. And like with the cars that we do here, it grew and grew to a point where he wasn't able to do the repairs at home, so he sent it to me. When that car got here, it was more complete than you see right now. We cut some of the outer parts of the quarter panel off and the rear body so we could get it dipped and get everything cleaned that's inside of there. We knew it all had to be replaced. So the way you see it isn't exactly the way it came to me, but it's not far off from it. So now when you look at the car, everything that's off of it, you can see there's no back window inner structure, I'll call it. It's really part of the quarter inner structure, but if you look at it, there's nothing back there. It's wide open space. The package tray is gone. The opening around the window that the skins would go up against for the quarters that would make up the back window opening, they're completely gone. So that area that is so crucial, not the package tray because they do make that, but everything else they don't make, and that's what we're gonna be using these donor parts for. So as I had mentioned, the pieces that we're going to be saving off of the donor cars that came out of Washington are these roof reinforcement parts. Here's a great example of how a car that looks like junk can still offer a little something. Those reinforcement pieces are going to allow us to put this RT together. Now, the whole reason I'm really sharing this with you is this is a major project on this RT that we're doing. We're going to be replacing almost all of the metal on it, kind of like our 71 CUDA that we did a couple of seasons ago that we built from scratch. We're not building it from scratch, but we're doing a lot of work on it, and I wanted to share every step of that process. People like it when we show you how things are done on areas that you wouldn't normally see anywhere else or on another show. So that's the whole point behind why I'm taking time now to show you all this stuff. The owner of the vehicle had cut out that back window opening that you see. If you look where I'm pointing there on each side of the window opening, that's where the material's missing from. Those are the areas that they don't make new. Now, I would have also probably cut it out because it was rusty, but I would have kept the pieces as a template and tried to duplicate them. Those parts are gone, so the next best thing we have is to find the donor part and put in there. Those will be saved from the original cars up in Washington and grafted onto this car. I'm not a huge fan of cutting up one car to save another one, but in this case, we've explained it. There really wasn't anything else on the car, especially around this area, that was useful for anything. That's why we chose to knock that one in the head. As with any car that we're working on, once we have it disassembled, it goes off to get dipped. That's where we're at on the car right now, is getting it sent out, having it chemically dipped, stop all the rust that's started on it, neutralize anything that's already there, get all the garbage off of the car. Then we can begin putting it back together again. Now that we have the donor car cleaned up inside, I want to show you what parts we're going to be harvesting off of it for our 68 Charger, this is the dipper, and how we're going to do that. This is very, very intricate work. If you cut into a donor part, you could potentially ruin it or add extra work for yourself. So dissecting and harvesting a donor part that is underneath layers of other metal, very, very tedious work. This happens to be a 68 Charger. It doesn't need to be to do what we're doing. We could use a 68 to 70. The inner structure pieces are the same. We just happen to have a 68. Where you see these markings at right now, what the body man's gonna do is he's gonna cut on that line, but he's only removing the outer skin. There's a whole bunch of reinforcements inside besides the pieces we're looking to harvest, but you gotta get access to them. So step one is clean the car up so you can see what you're doing. Step two is mark out where you want to make your cuts and get the meat out of the way so you can get in there and surgically remove the parts that you want. So right now he's getting ready to cut all of this out. Once he has that out, I can walk you guys inside and show you exactly what it looks like and how we do the next step.
Well, I'm really happy in the mechanical department. I cannot believe what Shane and other of these body guys can do to put these cars back together. I would never imagine that cars like this Charger could be saved.
I've known Shane for years. Went to high school together. We spent actually a lot of time together. came into the industry at the same time almost, and he just went for the body side and I went for the paint side. And we've worked together a couple times for Mark and then kind of went our own direction. So it's cool to now at this stage in our life, at being 42 years old, that we're back together again. We have a lot of great memories of stuff we did when we were kids. We laugh and joke about it. But watching him do what he does, he's a very talented guy. He takes these cars that are at nothing, and he's very, very meticulous. He's fitting everything, making sure everything is just perfect, and he's just a great asset to the team. So what Shane's doing now is he's cutting apart this Charger. He's using an air hammer with a metal tip. He's getting the big sections removed first to give himself room to work, to go back in there and do more intricate detail stuff. And the nice thing about the air hammer, there's no smoke, there's no sparks, there's no heat. It's just loud.
I can't believe how Shane can take a impact tool like we use in the mechanic shop, and he uses it to cut these cars apart, and I can't believe what a good job he does.
So knowing that the interstructure pieces we need are underneath the roof skin, underneath the quarters, underneath the Dutchman panel area, we have to remove those to gain access to the parts that we want to harvest. That means he is going to cut out the quarter panels, the roof skin, the Dutchman panel in big chunks. They're garbage. They're not usable pieces, so don't worry, folks, we're not ruining a good car. They're just peeling all the layers of the onion off so we can get to those parts and save them and not damage them.
It's funny when he's actually cutting through previous repairs and he'll hit a chunk of Bondo or anything for that matter. It just shoots it everywhere.
Now where the beam goes across the inner structure and the quarter panel lays over it, that's right against the bottom of that quarter skin. That's why he is switching over to a cutoff wheel versus the big zip rattle gun that's going to go through there. You have to be cautious and not damage the pieces that you want to reuse. So once we had the outer skins off of this car, the roof skin, the quarter skins, and the Dutchman panel, I was in a position where we could see all of the inner structure pieces that we needed to harvest. The parts that we're looking to save right here are the roof inner structure to the wheelhouse and the quarter inner structure to the quarter panel itself. These are the pieces that aren't being made. Now, just a quick side note, AMD did just announce that they are making these pieces for the E-body. That's right. Remember back a couple seasons ago, we talked about that they weren't being made? Now they're making them. They called me up and they gave me a personal thank you and said, thank you for helping us be a better company.
It's always something.
They never called me and said that.
No, they didn't.
No, but they certainly made a part I said was needed, didn't they?
Okay.
Now the rear header itself at the opening at the top of the back glass, that is being made by AMD, as are the side rails being made. The roof skin, the quarters, the Dutchman, all that we can get brand new. You know, it's funny when they took that Dutchman panel off of there, that's a great example of previous sins that we've talked about. We see it all the time, garbage after garbage. So somebody on this Dutchman really butchered it. Apparently it was rusted out, and instead of just replacing the Dutchman panel, which is what I would have done, they took pieces of a refrigerator, the outer skin of a refrigerator, which are aluminum, pop riveted them to the Dutchman panel, and then just caved it in and smeared Bondo over the top of it. So if you look carefully, you'll see little blue dots at all of the spot weld points that we need to drill out. These are the areas that need to come loose from the rest of the structure to give us the harvested parts that we need. So everywhere that there's a blue dot, at the wheelhouse, at the back opening, at the Dutchman, all these areas need to have the spot welds drilled out. Now the reason we're drilling out spot welds is the same reason we do whenever we harvest a part. We want to be able to put this piece back in a car in the same factory fashion. So we have to dissect it from the other pieces to do that. Now this one's a little bit more intricate because we want to put on that quarter reinforcement to wheelhouse area along with a section of the upper piece and the side header. We figured if we can put that in as one unit, our geometry will be automatically established because it's a good part, and it'll save a lot of cutting and trimming. Once the body man has established what spot welds need to be drilled out, it's much easier to have full access to those. There's a lot of drilling. So he will cut these pieces out in a larger chunk, much like taking off the roof and the outer quarter skins. He's going to take a torch and blow out larger footprint than these parts. Harvest that part off of there, flip it upside down, and begin drilling out spot welds at a nice, easy access height to get to. Now that the major piece that we're going to be using is cut out, they'll take it over to the bench, drill out all the spot welds, clean it up, do the same thing to the car that is going to receive it. Next time you see that car, we'll be putting that roof infrastructure on.
Hey everybody, Will Scott, #1 painter here from Graveyard Carz. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you go in, like it, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now I'm gonna get back to painting.